As with boxing, when it's at the elite stage, you can't play games
without necessarily striving to win. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what I told you. It's WWE. Okay? This is WWE, like I told you.
Crazy for multiple reasons. One, they have a huge size difference. Tank Davis, he's a lightweight, normally fights at 135 pounds. And Jake Paul, he's a cruiserweight, usually fights at 200 pounds.
Floyd Mayweather has called out Jake Paul over the no knockout clause in his fight with Gervonta Davis. He claims Jake is more interested in turning the event into entertainment than testing himself in real competition. According to Floyd, the matchup loses its seriousness under staged conditions, though he admits both men know what they've signed up for. For him, boxing should showcase skill and competition, not rules designed to create spectacle.
But like I said before, they know what they're doing. Both brothers.
On X, Wade Plemons remarked, "We all expected an exhibition, but the Florida Commission saying fighters will display skill without aiming to win through strikes or headshots isn't exactly the best way to promote it." Lol. Known for his sharp boxing takes, Plemons criticized the commission for downplaying the intensity by stressing that full contact won't be the goal. He argued this weakens fan excitement. Meanwhile, Mayweather, who always thrived on competition, has taken steps to keep himself relevant, reportedly pursuing Mike Tyson not just for profit, but for pride. With Jake versus Tank gaining attention, Floyd ensured his own fight would overshadow theirs. This is classic Mayweather. Dominate headlines, maintain relevance, and remind the sport that his name still carries unmatched weight.
Now that there's so many celebrities and so many people that are known, where you can get somebody and they can sell tickets to events, that's what kicked off the social media influence boxing that Jake Paul was birthed from. Now we're in a vacuum. And so there's going to be a lot of conversation about that and continuing to do that. In this particular video, though, I want to get into the mind of Floyd Mayweather Jr. and why Floyd Mayweather Jr. would do this. There is the money, but there's also the competitive nature of Floyd Mayweather Jr. and him not wanting to have other people think that they're a bigger star than he is. Floyd Mayweather Jr. has not been able to really launch his star outside of the sport of boxing, so he continues to do exhibitions. Now, what I think is that Floyd Mayweather Jr. is announced it at this point in time with Mike Tyson in order to take advantage of the publicity heading into the Gervonta Davis-Jake Paul fight, which is, I do believe, set for November. So now that they have all the publicity and all that stuff coming out from that, he's going to piggyback on it and then try to have it in the beginning of next year sometime and actually make it a bigger event than Gervonta versus Jake Paul. And it probably will be. And the reason that I say that is because of Mike Tyson.
At the center of this debate is legacy. Mayweather, unbeaten and retired, has nothing at stake in his exhibitions. His aim is financial and reputational upkeep. Jake Paul, still building his career, uses such spectacles to grow his brand. But for Gervonta Davis, the stakes are higher. Each fight shapes his career path, and prioritizing entertainment over genuine competition risks damaging his reputation among purists. The real question becomes, is the short-term buzz worth the long-term price?
What is going to happen in that fight is basically the same thing as what's happening to Canelo Alvarez and Terrence Crawford, except for that is a live action fight that is a real competitive fight. But the marketing of it is the same thing, and the fact that somebody is going to pay for it is more likely with Floyd Mayweather Jr. and Mike Tyson than it is with even Jake Paul and Gervonta. But I think that it really is an attempt to compete with Gervonta Davis by setting up a bigger fight than Gervonta Davis is having. And I'm going to tell you this something else too. I would not put it past these people.
The Davis versus Jake Paul fight might have dominated headlines alone, but Mayweather's move ensures all eyes shift back to him. For years, he has perfected the art of capturing attention, even when it means stepping beyond tradition. By signing to fight Tyson, Floyd reclaimed the spotlight, knowing nostalgia and his flawless record would outshine Jake versus Tank. Meanwhile, controversy surrounds Davis versus Jake because it isn't sanctioned as an official bout. The commission only approved it as an exhibition, making it more spectacle than competition. Critics argue this edges closer to WWE-style entertainment. No knockouts, no official stakes, just showmanship. While this may spark short-term buzz, many believe it erodes boxing's authenticity.
Will face Gervonta Davis in an exhibition match. Quote, "You can't do a fight like that as a pro fight," Shipman said. "It'll be an exhibition fight," end quote. Similarly to the concerning location move, he states that the main reason for this is the significant weight disparity between the two opponents. An exhibition is defined by Florida statutes as a boxing, kickboxing, or mixed martial arts engagement in which persons participating show or display their skills without necessarily striving to win, using strikes, elbows, blah, blah, blah. So, the key word here is, key phrase, show or display their skills without necessarily striving to win. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what I told you. It's WWE. Okay? This is WWE, like I told you. These are setup fights. These are rigged fights. I know Jake Paul gets upset when people say he ain't a real fighter and all that stuff. But I think the Mike Tyson fight pretty much showed everybody that, Mike was pulling back on his punches, and it just was weird to me. You know what I'm saying? Now you got Gervonta Tank Davis getting ready to sell his soul to go up in here and move around the ring with Jake Paul. I don't know what's going to happen on this. I don't know, but regardless of the fact, the fight is going to do well because it's going to be on Netflix. So everybody got Netflix, so everybody's going to watch the fight. So it's going to be like a wrestling event, basically, a fake scripted fight.
Former champion Paulie Molina has been blunt about his disapproval of the matchup. He insists knockouts only hold meaning against legitimate, evenly matched opponents. In his view, setups like this cheapen the sport and hand Jake Paul undeserved credibility. Debating Chris Algieri, Molina stressed that while casual viewers may enjoy it, true fans recognize the lack of authenticity compared to real championship fights. One major issue is weight. With such a wide size gap, the Florida Commission deemed it unsafe and only allowed an exhibition format with controlled conditions. This ruling underscores boxing's limits. Entertainment must bow to regulation. The decision to reframe the fight highlights just how unorthodox the event is.
Paulie? Knockouts, dude. Knockouts. People like knockouts. They don't care if you're knocking out cab drivers. Look at Jake Paul's career.
You can manufacture that, though. You can manufacture knockouts.
You can't manufacture.
To a degree, you can. To a degree. I mean, Gervonta legitimately cannot get knockouts. I agree. He can punch, but there's a lot of limited knockout artists, though, man.
He's one of the least active punchers in the game with the highest knockout percentage of current heavyweight.
But if he was a real knockout artist, if he was a real knockout artist, prop him up against the best of the best. Felix Trinidad was a knockout artist. He was knocking out the best of the best. If you're a real knockout artist, prop him up against the best and show us how he smokes them. But the way we did when Felix Trinidad was doing it. You know, the way when Mike Tyson was doing it in his prime. Say what you want about the Mike Tyson era. He knocked out everyone from 1986 to 1989. Everyone got knocked out. Everyone.
Well, by your standard, you could say that Tyson was to a degree manufactured.
No, because he fought everyone that was there. Everyone that was there at that time fought.
Teddy Atlas will 100% agree with this because he would say the guys that were afraid of him.
With the exception of Witherspoon. No, but they all, doesn't matter. He knocked them all out. There was nobody you could say in that era except maybe Witherspoon, who I contract issues with King at the time. Oh, except for Witherspoon, there is nobody Tyson didn't fight in that era. He knocked them all out. You can't say but if he would have fought that guy, I don't know. No, with Davis, there's guys right now that have been hanging around for years. Yo, dude, when are you going to fight them? The lightweight division was stacked with talent. Even at 130, it had a lot of talent when he was there. Didn't fight almost any of them. So it's not the same thing as the Tyson era. You want to say anything about Tyson era? Fine. It wasn't as high level or something. He still knocked out everyone. There was nobody there in that era that you could say Tyson didn't fight.
Didn't say it was related. It was the same as the Tyson era. Didn't say it at all. I was actually going to say the opposite when you talk about Trinidad. Trinidad is a bona fide superstar. And the way that he was, and like you said, he
stepped him up and he knocked out.
And he was a knockout punches. No, of course. So that's a different thing. So is Sugar Ray Leonard. Now, you also have to compare it to your contemporaries. Nobody is selling, dude. Nobody is selling. No one sells tickets. No one has a following these days. There's very few fighters who actually sell tickets.
There's a push, bro. I was at
Canelo
Showtime.
Alvarez.
I was at Showtime.
Canelo
There's
Alvarez.
a push. Bro, but champ. I don't want to keep cutting you off, but I got to because
they
here's the
all
thing.
push.
There's a push for certain people. I remember being at Showtime and even watching on HBO on TV. They're mentioning Saul Alvarez, who I didn't even know his name was Canelo at the time, as a possible Mayweather opponent. When they were talking about possible Mayweather opponents, I'm like, I knew who the rest of the guys on the list were. Who the hell is this guy? Who's Saul Alvarez? That he's going on, that you put him in a list with all these other guys that you were bona fide champions and high-level fighters.
Broadcaster Adi Oladipo offered a different angle, criticizing the timing. He argued that exhibitions work when fighters are past their prime, as with Mayweather versus Logan Paul, but staging one while Davis and Jake are in peak condition is risky. These years are irreplaceable, and using them for sideshow bouts could distract from real fights that cement legacy. For Oladipo, it's not just spectacle. It's about wasting prime opportunities.
Whether you agree with it or not, Gervonta is considered the #1 lightweight in the world. And it's a division that includes Shakur Stevenson, a lot of young guns coming up. I'm not any more sure if it's going to include Keyshawn Davis, but it's a hot division. He's considered #1 in that division. Like, that's why I kind of find this a bit, I don't know. Like, there are challenges out there for Gervonta. There are big money fights out there for Gervonta. We want to see Gervonta in those fights. Again, I don't know how many fights people want to see AJ in, just to make the AJ Jake Paul comparison. One, as far as I'm concerned, that was Tyson Fury. I don't really have any interest in seeing an AJ in any other more fights. Whereas Gervonta Davis, I wanted and still do want to see him in so many more fights. So, yeah, it's kind of weird. These exhibition things are, like, really and truly, they should all be when your career is done. Like, when you think of Floyd versus Logan Paul, it's done, right? Floyd versus Conor, did he have one more after, or was that it? I can't even remember. But it was right at the end. It was done right at the end, even if it wasn't, right at the end. These guys having these exhibition fights in between what is the peak of their career is kind of weird for me. Very, very weird. And then it isn't even comparable to Ngannou Fury, because at least these guys were the same size. Like, Jake Paul is a 215, 220 pound guy. I don't know what he walks around at. Gervonta fights at 135. I'm guessing he walks around about 155.
Reports revealed that Davis canceled his scheduled rematch with Lamont Roach to pursue the Paul fight, raising concerns. Roach was a competitive challenge that could elevate his career, but Tank chose the more lucrative, less meaningful route. This reflects a troubling trend in modern boxing, fighters prioritizing money over legacy. Yet the matchup remains intriguing. Jake has size and power, while Davis brings speed, skill, and experience. The question looms: can refined technique overcome natural size, or will strength overpower skill? Breaking weight class barriers adds unpredictability, which explains why fans remain drawn despite its exhibition label.
So, breaking news, Jake Paul will be taking on Tank Davis in the exhibition on November 15th in Atlanta, Georgia, live on Netflix. And this is crazy for multiple reasons. One, they have a huge size difference. Tank Davis, he's a lightweight, normally fights at 135 pounds. And Jake Paul, he's a cruiserweight, usually fights at 200 pounds. So there's a good 60 to 65 pound difference here. It could also mean that Tank Davis is no longer interested in competing for titles anymore and is cashing out of boxing. You know, there's been a lot of talks that Tank is nearing retirement this year, and he was supposed to rematch Lamont Roach after their first fight went to a draw. But instead of chasing the Roach rematch, instead he takes the Jake Paul fight for money. So maybe this is Tank's last, or one of his last fights. And same for Jake Paul. He just got ranked number 14 at cruiserweight after beating Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. So he's supposed to be fighting other ranked contenders or top guys at cruiserweight. But instead, he's taking a money fight. But I do expect these two to go after each other. Even though it is an exhibition, I don't think it'll just be some boring sparring match. I do think they'll try a decent amount. But Tank, obviously, is a lot more skilled. Jake has a lot more size. But you guys let me know who you got.
Former heavyweight Eddie Chambers cautioned against underestimating Davis. While Jake's size advantage is clear, Chambers emphasized that Tank's skill level is far beyond his opponent's. A smaller but superior boxer can dismantle a larger, less technical rival. His perspective reframes the fight, not as a mismatch, but as a test of whether Jake can survive against true elite skill. For Chambers, the point is simple. Size plays a role, but skill often wins the day.
That something like this can happen, but this is social media. This is what is created. There's a lane that Jake Paul has created. Honestly, I'm not mad at him for it. He's gotten a lot of fighters and, actual fighters some shine. It also has done for women's boxing a lot. So I'm not mad at him for what he's been in boxing, what he's created. This is a little crazy right here. This is a little crazy. And a lot of people will say, Tank is too small. Let me tell you something. Anybody that gets in the ring with Tank that is not a damn dinosaur is going to feel something from him. And it ain't going to be easy to hit it. Got boxing IQ. He may not sound like an intellectual guy when you hear him talk, but he knows the ring inside and out.
What becomes most obvious is how well exhibitions work as business models. Mayweather already perfected the blueprint. Pair fighters from different eras or backgrounds sell the spectacle and cash in. Jake Paul has used the same formula effectively, and now Davis risks entering that realm. These events thrive on debate, controversy, and social media hype. Whether fans tune in to cheer or hate watch, attention translates directly into pay-per-view sales.
Aside from make it extremely ugly by grabbing him and probably trying to throw him to the ground, I don't know what else, bite him, I don't know, but I mean, the skill level alone, now of course, there is a size difference, a height difference and all that, but he's just gonna struggle so much landing a shot. It's just gonna look bad. To me, this is the way I see it. It's gonna look bad. Tank is gonna be too fast. And the punch, I believe, I'm not saying it's gonna knock him out but he's gonna feel.
Are you surprised at the backlash that Tank is getting?
No, yeah. What is going on why are they mad at the fighters for this?
That wraps up today's video. Stay locked in for more updates until next time.